In a quiet village nestled between two towering mountains, an old legend lingered in hushed whispers. Never call out in the valley at dusk, or the cursed echo will answer. The villagers heeded the warning, but Elias, a young and skeptical man, laughed at their fear. Stories meant to scare children, he scoffed, rolling his eyes. There's no such thing as curses. One evening, as the sun melted into the horizon and painted the sky in deep oranges and purples, Elias set off alone toward the valley. He wanted to prove the villagers wrong, to show them that fear was their only enemy. The valley was eerily silent. The wind barely stirred, and the mist curled along the ground like ghostly fingers. He reached the center and took a deep breath. Cupping his hands around his mouth, he shouted, "Is anyone there?" For a moment, nothing. Then, "Is anyone there?" The echo came back, but something was wrong. The voice that returned wasn't quite his own. It was lower, raspier, as if something deep in the valley had swallowed his words and spat them back tainted. A chill ran down his spine. He forced a chuckle. What a clever trick! What a clever trick! The voice was closer. Elias took a step back. Who's there? Who's there? The voice was not just an echo, it was different, distorted. A whisper slithered through the air, laced with amusement. Elias's heart pounded. His breath quickened. He turned on his heel, ready to leave, but his foot caught on a root, and he stumbled to the ground. The silence pressed in on him, suffocating. Then laughter, but not his own. It rippled through the valley, hollow and cruel, growing louder until it surrounded him. He clamped his hands over his ears, but the sound wormed its way into his skull, rattling his thoughts. Panic clawed at him. He scrambled to his feet and sprinted toward the village, his breath coming in sharp gasps. But the faster he ran, the louder the echo became, mimicking his every sound, his footsteps, his ragged breathing, until it was no longer just following him. It was chasing him. A sudden gust of wind howled through the valley, carrying with it a voice that was no longer an echo but something alive. "You called," it hissed. Elias skidded to a stop. Ahead of him, the mist thickened, swirling like a living thing. A figure emerged, shadowy, shifting, its form flickering between solid and smoke. It had no eyes, no nose, just a gaping mouth, twisted into a grin that stretched too wide. "You called," it repeated, the words dripping with a terrible hunger. Elias turned and ran, but the valley stretched endlessly. No matter how fast he moved, the trees, the rocks, everything blurred together, as if the valley itself refused to let him leave. His screams rang out, but the valley swallowed them whole. The villagers waited for him that night. Then the next. Days passed, but Elias never returned. At dawn, the eldest villager ventured to the valley's edge. Watch out for part 2.